Hello, and thank you for joining me on another episode of the Tech Exec podcast, where we triple your impact per engineer. As always, I'm your host, Aviv Ben-Yosef, advisor and consultant to tech execs worldwide, and our subject today is the odd year. Before I get to that, let me tell you that I'm launching something very interesting. Actually, the thing I think I'm most excited about in a while. And you get first access and free access if you are on my mailing list. And the link is, as always, in the show notes. If you go there, you'll be able to enter the beta stage of the new community I'll be launching for tech executives, for CEOs who want to work with peers, talk to them, and have some support because you don't have to go it alone, as I've been telling you. And now, back to our regularly scheduled programming. This is the first episode of 2023. I still need to get used to saying that. And I titled this The Odd Year because I think for many of us, this will be a very different year from previous ones you had in your career. Actually, it just might be something you've never experienced in your career if you haven't been around for over a decade. And that is a year where the markets are acting very differently. When COVID started, and you can go back to my past catalog and listen, things were still very different. We were more concerned about work from home, but now it's not just a change in how we work, it's a change in the industry. All of a sudden, we see constant layoffs. We hear about companies tightening the belt. We see that VCs are not as trigger happy as they used to be. And many people realize that things are changing. And the question is, what should that mean to you? Personally, I think that this is a regression to the mean that will probably end up being okay for the vast majority of the industry. As in, the good companies are going to survive. A lot of companies that probably wouldn't have succeeded too much anyway are going to find that out sooner rather than later, hopefully wasting less time and less money in the process. For the employees, even the laid off ones I just read on the Wall Street Journal, that many people are essentially finding new jobs quickly. That's a signal that what we're seeing right now is that a lot of the bigger companies are cutting jobs that they didn't really need, and we have a lot of new startups taking those people. Therefore, I believe things are going to be all right, but what it does mean is that you're probably going to manage teams that look different. If you get used to, someone having an idea and all of a sudden you have two teams working on that, that's probably not going to be the case. You're probably going to have to learn to work with a smaller team. You have to start re-educating your people about what growth personally for them looks like in the company, because all of a sudden, it's not like everyone is going through hypergrowth, and therefore you will not have a new organization pop up under you every year. So it's not like the person who was an IC can easily become a manager within a year and then a director within another year. These things are no longer happening at many companies. And therefore, you're going to have to find a way to create a real progression professionally for your people. Be it by coaching them, connecting them to the end goal, ensuring that the people you are bringing on are people who are interested in the long journey and not merely looking for a new title. You're going to have to do that because otherwise you're going to be suffering. You're going to have to tell people to wait on that promotion and please just give us another quarter again and again and again. And it's going to burn you out. That's not going to work. This is not the year for retention by titles. This is no longer something you can use. If you listen back, I used to say that even before we had this situation. I just think that now you can no longer even use it. Also, this is finally the year where we learn how to work effectively as teams because nothing else can work. We can no longer try and overcompensate and be the hero coders because you don't have enough people. And therefore, right now, your smaller teams have to learn to cooperate together. You probably no longer have budget for all of those different roles that don't make a lot of sense. I used to see companies where they bring someone to be in charge of a tiny slice of the process just because one of the managers isn't doing it well and no one else wants to do that. So let's hire a whatever manager to do that. Does it make sense? Not really, but this sort of abundance and profligate spending has been happening all over the place and can no longer. And therefore, everyone has to pick up the slack. Everyone has to be part of the team. It's going to be different. It's not going to be as it has been in the past few years. And even if you've been around the block a few times, probably a lot of your ICs are not aware of this. For them, this is really strange land. You have to guide them. You have to help them realize what's happening, what's likely to happen in the company, in the industry. I think it makes a lot of sense to expose them to stories about what's happening all around you, because that helps them see that it's not just my company is not doing well or my company is not growing insanely fast. Virtually everyone is doing the same. And to do that, you have to expose them and you have to yourself get access to it. I see a lot of companies. I don't know how many you see. This is another reason why I'm creating the community. And again, check the link in the show notes. Now, all this to say that you have to start thinking about how your team, how your people will react to the new reality. But you also have to consider for yourself, what do you want to do? Because your growth can no longer look like it used to. Your new challenges, what pushes you out of the comfort zone, is not going to be merely managing a lot more people. It will be different. So what are you looking to see happening in 2023? If you haven't thought about it yet, you should start thinking about it, because you have to envision where you want to get. You have to envision what sort of changes are exciting for you. Because if you can't think of anything, it's time to start making something be there. You have the agency, you have the power. No one is expecting you to just waste a year or two of your life, but you have the ability to shape your career and shape your path now more than ever, actually, in my opinion. So find things you're excited for, find where you want to grow, and ensure that that's on your personal roadmap. Don't waste this year. God knows you're probably not going to get a lot more time where you're not busy constantly interviewing people. I bet that's nice, right? You don't have to do all of that like we used to. Your organization just saves a lot of time. Leverage that. And I am not pro layoffs in general, because that usually means that the company has grown in an unhealthy manner previously. But I do believe that many companies can grow slower than they used to. Enjoy it. Now is the time to learn how to work in smaller teams. You're going to see how the constraints create even more creativity. That's what I used to see in my service in the army, where we had tiny teams doing a lot of projects, no resources, but we got it done. Probably better than many, many big enterprises. You can too. So this is an odd year, but it's going to be a great learning experience if you're up to it and if you're going to help your team see it. That's a big part of your role this year. I hope you're excited for that. That's it for this week. Thank you for joining me. If you haven't yet, do subscribe to my newsletter. It's the best one for tech execs online, and also, again, will let you enter my new community free. So check the link in the show notes. Thank you, and talk soon.